But my question was more on the topic of, I'm not talking about technobabble. I'm not talking
Mhm.
about, pixels and all that. I'm talking about a dumbed down pitch. So the pitch that I give to the local business owner is going to be very different to a company that does $50 million a year,
Mhm.
right? So the one that I give to the business owner is going to be more along the lines of, hey, want more customers? Hey, you could
Mhm.
pay me and I'll get you more customers by getting in front of people. The pitch to the $50 million one would be, I guess, more nuanced on how we're going to get the customers or whatever,
So
because
that is a fantastic point. All right. So earlier today in the grossest office you have ever seen, we had about 8 people on that desk,
yeah,
and it was a $50 million a year business
okay,
in revenue. There's
yeah,
about 5 people there. None of the CEOs, none of the CFOs. It was like SVP executive type things, right?
yeah,
So me looking like this, all right, and one of the guys I was pitching with, we sat down all around that table, and I have a very specific way of establishing what I call tribal language, which is how people talk about the problems. And I'll tell you what, for everybody watching, if you can talk about their problems using the way that they talk, they will immediately have an understanding of what you're trying to do
mhm,
immediately. That will change depending upon someone's education, experience, status, blah, blah, blah. But you got to understand how they're talking. You got to match that and then bring it up. And so, what I do on every single pitch or every single conversation is I start off with what I call an onboarding form, which is different than what we call an onboarding form.
right,
My onboarding forms are like 15 to 18 questions that do not ask what their name, phone number, email, and address is. It asks questions like, so how many leads did you generate in the past 30 days? And how many of those turned into real life customers?
mhm,
And they answer it. I go, is this like a feeling, or is this like you got like real numbers on it? And they answer it. I go, okay. And how many of those over the next 180 days upgrade and come back and buy more stuff?
mhm,
Of the remaining difference, how many of them have been followed up X number of times with automations or manuals? How many people know, like, and trust your deeply rooted soap opera sequence of a story? And we start asking like those questions that are kind of like off the wall, but once you realize like this stuff really deeply matters quickly. And then as they answer, we have their answer written down, and that's how we pull out their language. So the people here that run a $50 million a year business, which is like absolutely fantastic, the language they were using was not clicks, was not ads managers, was not automations or Zapier, was not GHL or CRMs. It was, hey man, I have no idea what I don't know. Like the questions that you're asking seem like we should have access to this. And I guess somebody in my company does, but if it's
right,
not me, then it
exactly,
doesn't
yeah,
exist. Right. So
yeah,
what ends up happening from there is I say, all right, I definitely understand the problem here. Let me ask you this. If we solve this, how would your business transform? Like, what would it matter? Like, so what if you understood this? Like, what are you going to action on it? It's like, well, if we did that, we could better allocate budget to people like you. How much are we talking here? Like, are we talking like an allocation, like you're going to spend $1 million a month on ads? Half a million? It's like, we'll
mhm,
probably spend $350,000 a month on ads. I go, cool. All right. Who are you trying to target? Who are your decision makers? Who are your policy makers? Are we talking like the suppliers so that you get first dibs, or your customers? Because those are very, very different processes, right? Doing that, we end up creating like a very unique plan to solve their problems. But you're 100% right, which is like, what if you're using the wrong language and you don't know? What if their bottom language is their top language, or vice versa?
yeah,
And the running theory that I always have is that we come in with these like self beliefs or self perspectives reinforced by our experiences that are very, very different than our clients. And
right,
when you think about like that dentist, right, who's like, man, I don't know, man, like I feel like I've made it, but I haven't. Again, like an agency owner, like, yeah, my business is working. We got people coming all the time and buying my stuff, but holy shit, man, when did $1 million not make any money at all? I go,
right.
yeah, yeah, it sucks nowadays.